Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Colby, Kansas. Today's verse is 1 John 2:3. By this we know that we have come to know him if we keep his commandments. Now I have to love the King James Version because it starts with we know that we know him. And I just like how that rolls off the tongue. By this we know that we know him if we keep his commandments. Well, the most important thing to understand about this verse is a whole question of cause and effect. If we look at this verse and say, well, I better get busy and use my human efforts to start doing some commandments so I can prove that I love him, then we've missed the boat. That's not the correct cause and effect. It's basically a flowing out of our love. We're going to notice, wow, I'm starting to keep his commandments. I never used to before I was a Christian, and now I want to. It's just happening naturally. That's what it should be like, okay? Let's look at another verse that John wrote here in John 14:15. It says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. In fact, I'll even change that a little bit to, since you love me, because of the fact that you love me, you will keep my commandments. It's just going to happen naturally, and the Holy Spirit will help us with that. Now, way long ago, at my very first ever verse, I chose Psalm 37:4, and I had the link up here. And in that, I suggested that loving God is like a woman who's fallen in love with the perfect man, and out of her love for this great guy, she has begun to give up things that she used to love and adopt things she never used to love, not out of, oh, I better do this to be a good wife, but because obeying him and doing what his will is would bring her closer to him in love. It's a response out of love. Now, with all of that being said, I've got a really unusual parable to bring us to and see if this can make a little bit of sense here. In Matthew 25, you have two big parables, and I'm going to take the first one, which is the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins. You could also read the next one. In fact, I might do that a couple weeks from now. But let me just give you a summary. So you have these 10 virgins. 5 are wise because they took oil. 5 were foolish because they did not take oil. They had oil in the lamps, but they didn't take any extra oil. And they're all 10 of them waiting for a certain signal for them to come into the wedding feast. And they're just waiting and waiting until the signal comes. When the signal does come, the wise virgins had enough oil to top off and keep their lamps lit, but the foolish virgins did not. So they asked the wise, hey, can you give us some of your oil? The wise virgins said, no, we don't have enough for both of us, but you can go over there and buy some. And so they did, and they come back, but they're late. And it's a strange story. But one of the things I want to make sure we don't get too hung up on is the fact that oil is often used as a symbol of the Holy Spirit. This is true, but don't get too hung up on that fact with this parable, because after all, the foolish virgins did have oil. They ran out, and they bought some oil. So by the time they came, they had oil. They were just late. So if you're going to say that's the Holy Spirit, you've got some difficulties to get through on that. No, here's the idea. You have to jump to verse 12 in Matthew 25. But he answered, he being the bridegroom, truly I say to you, I do not know you. We don't know each other. If you knew me, you would know that this was expected of you, as that's what happened with the wise virgins. They knew what was expected. So really, if we know him, we're going to know what's expected of us, and we're going to start obeying him naturally, again, out of love. Because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.